Hey guys, YouTube 100 here. All right, and now here I am to review the second Phase 5 Marvel film that has been released this year. And so for this review, this is going to be your review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So this movie was released this past May. Yeah, and of course, this film kind of got like some delayed production because after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Marvel had temporarily dismissed James Gunn, as I've talked about before. Yeah, but yeah, eventually Marvel did bring him back to and yeah, this film was then made. Yeah, and and yeah, And yeah, this was actually a really good to great film. Yeah, really did enjoy this one a lot. Yeah, um, yeah, yeah. This one really did give us yeah. This really did tell a really good story, and yeah, this really was a really enjoyable film. As the last hurrah for the Guardians of the Galaxy, they did go out on a pretty high note for this movie. Yeah, yeah. Like Yeah, the story that this film told, it definitely was a really good story. I would say that it was a more interesting story than the story that we got in the second film. And yeah, and overall, yeah, this really was just a very well written and well directed movie. Yeah, James Gunn really just does really put his all into it with these three Guardians of the Galaxy films. Yeah, shows that he really does give people what they really want to see. Yeah, and he really did really make these characters really big because yeah, prior to these films being made, the Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, were really not that popular amongst people. Yeah, but yeah, with these three films, they really did gain a lot of popularity, and people have really loved the films. Yeah, and this one really was no exception. Yeah, this one was just a really good to great film. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can really say that this really was a better film than the first one, but yeah, I did think it was definitely better than the second one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, just what can I really say? Just yeah, James Gunn really did give us a really good final farewell to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, and as you were watching this, you could really tell that this really was going to be the last Guardians of the Galaxy film. Yeah, there was just a lot of things in here to really just tell you that this really was going to be their last hurrah. Yeah, and they really did go out on a really high note for this film. Yeah, so this film does pretty much bring back the entire cast of characters for these films. Yeah, you still do have all the characters, you still do, and all the cast reprising their roles. You still do have Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Batista, Mr. Kieran Gillen, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, and Palm Clementif. If yeah, yeah, and they still are the characters that everybody does know. They still do have all the stuff that people really have known them for. Yeah, yeah, and this film also does have some new cast members. It features Will Poulter, Sean Gunn. Um, it features Nathan Fillion, Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, yeah, and it even does feature some of the actors that have been in some of the other Marvel films actually providing some voices for this film. You do have cast members Linda Cardellini and Judy Greer also providing voices for the couple characters in this film. So yeah, so I thought that was interesting that they actually did get some of the a few actors that have appeared in some of the other Marvel films to provide some voice acting for this film. Yeah, And yeah, and and like I said, just really did tell like a pretty good story. Yeah, the focus of this film is really like mostly on Rocket. Yeah, in this film, like a Rocket ends up getting like a hurt, and then like the rest of the Guardians really do have to actually save him, save him from dying, and they just like have to retrieve like a certain object to really like heal him up. Yeah, and this film also really does like go into like Rocket's past of like how he was created and what did happen with him, and really like what really did lead him to really like be in the position that he is in, to really when he like did join with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, and I did think that it was like a pretty interesting story that they gave Rocket for this film. Yeah, and of course of course Zoe Saldana still does reprise her role as Gamora in this film. Of course, like this is like the different Gamora, like the one that like we did like see that did actually um did like survive the battle from like Avengers Endgame. This is like a that alteration of Gamora. So yeah, so it's a different one. So there's not really like any actual like any of the romance between Star Lord and Gamora that was in the previous two films. Of course, yeah, yeah. In this film, like Gamora shows that like with this being like a different an alteration of a Gamora. Like, she really doesn't have the romantic connection with Star Lord because it's a different variation. Yeah. So Gamora is really like more like just having like a business like kind of partnership connection with like Star Lord and the rest of the Guardians in the film. Yeah. So yeah, so I thought it was kind of interesting that they went down like the different route for the connection with Star Lord and Gamora in this film. Yeah. Yeah, and the humor in the film, like, it is kind of a hit and miss, to be honest. I mean, there are like times where we really do get like a funny moment in the film, but other times the humor just really feels like forced, and it really is just like it's just like the formula where like it's just kind of like a humorous line being said to just like kind of like eh, to just like get in the way of a scene and just like takes away from the focus of the scene. Yeah. So it's just like as I've said before, like I really am not like into Drax at all. Like I really don't enjoy his character at all. Oh, and I'm really not a fan of Drax. Yeah. No. And even yeah, and even like with Mantis, like just yeah, a lot of her humor just feels really forced. How she's just like saying the silly stuff, and it really just kind of like interrupts the scene. So yeah, so the humor for the film really is like kind of hit and miss. Yeah, but yeah, it is still like a really good to great film. Really did enjoy it, and yeah, and it really just does give us like the Guardians of the Galaxy formula that we've come to know from the first two films, and even like the holiday special. Oh yeah, and yeah, and this film also does like like have connection with the holiday special as well. It does like still like there was still like some stuff from the holiday special that did carry over into this film, such as like with Star Lord and Mantis being siblings, and of course like with Groot, like of course in the holiday special, Groot was like really big and muscular and stuff. Yeah, and he still has like that appearance in this film as well. Yeah, so it does still like have connection with the holiday special as well, and not just the previous two films, and even like their encounters with the Avengers and stuff. So yeah, so really did enjoy this film a lot. So yeah, it really did like give us like a real good final hurrah for the Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, so I would probably give this film I guess I would give it 3.75 stars out of 4. Yeah, so just very enjoyable film. So I just really don't know what else I can say about it. Like, if you haven't seen this film, and if you like the Guardians of the Galaxy, give the film a watch and just see the final hurrah for these characters. All right. All right, so I'm almost like 10 minutes into the review, so yeah, let me just get started talking about the film. Okay. So yeah, so as the film opens up with the Marvel Studios logo, similar to like what we saw like with the logo in the opening of Captain Marvel and Wakanda Forever, yeah, the opening like a logo for the Marvel Studios in this film, like it just like contains like images and clips of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, so that was kind of something to kind of just show you that this really was going to be like the last Guardians of the Galaxy film. Yeah, yeah, and it does show like how the Guardians of the Galaxy like are still like living like in nowhere for their new headquarters. Yeah, and it just kind of like shows like them all like being their usual selves. Also with like Drax really being an idiot. Yet Nebula still like being like the serious kind of person that she is. Yeah, Mantis really just like being like kind of like very dim-witted. Yeah, Star Lord still like acting like he's the big shot, and kind of like passing out and stuff. Yeah, yeah, and Rocket and Groot still being their usual selves. Yeah, and then one night like Nowhere ends up being under attack by a sovereign warrior named Adam Warlock, who has like been created by High Princess Aisha. Like yeah, she's back from the holiday special. Yeah, yeah, and then then when she like she's like created him to destroy them stealing her stealing from her. Yeah, yeah. Then yeah, and then like as Adam like attacks Rocket, then the other Guardians like try to intervene and fight him off, but yeah, he like takes all of them out. Then eventually then as Adam like was like beating Drax down and looked like about to kill him, then Nebula ended up stabbing Adam, forcing him to flee. Yeah. And as the Guardians were attempting to aid Rocket and heal him. Like their like med packs that they have were not uh, helping to heal Rocket. So then and um, it was then like showed how like apparently Rocket like contained a device that was known as a kill switch that was embedded in him by a company that was like under by the name of Orgo Corp, or that like which was a company that was helmed by Rocket's creator, known as High Evolutionary. Well, yeah. So then, then the Guardians then decided to travel to Orbicope headquarters to find the override code to save Rocket. And it showed like has Rocket was just like unconscious. He was then like had these like visions of his past. And the film like kind of keeps like cutting back to this throughout it. Yeah. As the film progresses, like it just keeps cutting back to Rocket's past. Yeah, it shows how like when Rocket was a baby, like he was experimented on by the High Revolutionary, and it showed how like they had like this desire to enhance the and anthropomorphize oh, sorry anthropomorphize animal life forms, so they would be able to create like this society that would be like known as a counter Earth. And it showed how like as Rocket was like undergoing these experiments, like as he was like locked up in a cage, it showed how like he befriended like some other test subjects, such as an otter that was named Lila, a walrus named Teeves, and a rabbit that was named Floor. And it showed how like the High Evolutionary was like really impressed by Rocket's growing intelligence, but once like it exceeded his own, the High Revolutionary just wasn't happy about it, and so then Rocket was then used to perfect uh, humanimal creations, and the High Evolutionary then had a plan to like just use Rocket's brain for further research to exterminate any any obsolete test subjects. Yeah. But then, yeah, then Rocket eventually ended up freeing his friends, but then Lila ended up being killed by the High Evolutionary, and then, yeah, then Rocket, just being in a rage that his friend was killed, ended up just taking out the High Evolutionary. Yeah. Then eventually Rocket ended up fleeing Counter Earth in a spaceship. Yeah. And like I said, the film just keeps cutting back to that as it progresses. So yeah, so everything that I just talked about was just shown throughout the film. Like all that stuff didn't happen just at once in the film. Like it just kept cutting back to it. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And then yeah, then eventually then the Guardians ended up being joined by this group that was known as the Ravagers, which included an alternate version of Gamora. Yeah, and also it was headed by um Stacker Ogord, who was played by Sylvester Stallone. So yeah, so this was another case of what I've been talking about, how Marvel always gets the big name actors that they get for their films to appear in small supporting roles, and I really do like that they do that, and they don't have the big actor in a main role to overshadow the main characters like that. Yeah, I do like how they always put them in the supporting roles, and they get the not as well known actors really in the main roles. So yeah, that is something that I really do like that Marvel does do. Yeah, and yeah, and so then yeah, then the Gamora then helped the Guardians infiltrate Ogre Corp. Yeah, and then yeah, like uh as Gamora helped them infiltrate Head Corp. There was this moment where the Guardians and Gamora were all in spacesuits to try to break in. Yeah, and there was this funny moment where Star Lord tried to have a heartfelt conversation with Gamora about how much he really didn't mean to her before. Yeah, but then yeah, then it was revealed how all the rest of the Guardians could still hear the conversation. Yeah, so that was kind of a funny moment. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, then they eventually ended up retrieving a Rocket's file, but yeah, then they eventually discovered that his code was removed, with the likely culprit being one of the advisors for the High Evolutionary, known as Theo. Yeah, and so then yeah, then as the Guardians then departed for Counter Earth, they then ended up being followed by Adam and Aisha after the High Evolutionary, which was the creator of their race as well. Yeah, yeah. Then they threatened to wipe out all of the Sovereign if they were unable to retrieve Rocket. So yeah, so basically Adam and Aisha were forced to retrieve Rocket for the High Evolutionary. Yeah. Yeah. Then eventually, the Guardians ended up arriving on Counter Earth, and then yeah, then it just showed how a Counter Earth was populated by the humanimals, and it showed how these were very animalistic creatures with humanoid forms, and they had this a different language. They didn't speak English; they just had this a different language. Yeah, and as a the Guardians then were talking to these a goblin creatures about why they were there and what they were trying to do. And then uh, Star Lord, Groot, and Nebula then traveled to who the Ari Laboratories complex to see if they could actually find the stuff that they needed to find Theo to um, um, save Rocket. Yeah, and yeah, and then there was this funny bit where they used the goblin creature's car to drive to the lab. Yeah, and then yeah, then Nebula just had issues opening the car. She didn't know, of course, how it worked, and Star Lord was trying to give her instructions, but she was like was like unfamiliar with it, so like didn't know what to do. Yeah, then when she like was able to like push the button to open the door, like she was just asked what she did now, and then Star Lord just said to her, "Open the fucking door." So yeah, that was pretty funny how they dropped an F-bomb right there. Yeah, and as Gamora was of course like staying in the ship watching over Rocket, then and eventually then as Adam then like tried to like capture Rocket Rocket, as well as like the High Evolutionaries Guard War Pig, Gamora was able to fight them off and save Rocket. Yeah, and then eventually, then as the High Evolutionary was like questioned by Star Lord, eventually then they admitted their disillusionment with Counter Earth's like imperfect society. So then the High Evolutionary just wound up destroying Counter Earth and killed all the human animals along with Aisha. And then as RT like departed or did with it as a spaceship with Nebula, Drax, and Mantis is on the ship to save Star Lord and Heart and Groot. That when they like ended up like killing Theo, and but they ended up like escaping. And retrieved the code from Theo's corpse. They ended up like being rescued by Gamora, and then as they eventually then used the code to save Rocket, Rocket ended up like flatlining. And as it looked like he was gonna die, it showed them like how Rocket like reunited with his friends from before. Then as like he like learned from Lila that like it wasn't his time yet, Star Lord then used the code to disable Rocket's kill switch and restarted his heart and revived Rocket. And it showed how like as a it showed like a Drax, Nebula, and Mantis were like in a different part of the ship, and then they ended up like encountering some several of the like genetically modified humanoid children from alright that that like survived. They were eventually ended up being captured by a High Evolutionary. Then as Star Lord, Gamora, for Rocket and Groot, then like planned a rescue to lead to battle against like the High Evolutionaries forces. Eventually, then like they summoned like everyone else from nowhere, including Kraglin, and to join in. Eventually then Ari ended up like being doomed, and then like nowhere citizens then like joined in to like avoid a counterattack from the High Evolutionaries Hellspawn. Then eventually the crew of the High Evolutionary he like mutinied, but he just ended up like being killed by the leader. Then Drax, Nebula, and Mantis and wound up befriending like three of these monstrous creatures known as abelisks to escape, and then they eventually reunite with the others. Then like but before they actually ended up like leaving Arret, then they decided that they had to rescue like all the Star Children that escaped to nowhere using like a tunnel that was constructed by Cosmos telekinesis. Yeah, you remember Cosmo the dog? Yeah. Then like as they were then going to leave, Rocket then like realized that like there were still like other animals on the ship as well. And then as a Rocket then went to like save the animals, then like High Evolutionary then arrived, and then he like started to attack Rocket for Rocket's betrayal. But then eventually like the other Guardians arrived and intervened, and then they took out a High Evolutionary. Sorry. Then when Rocket had the opportunity to kill High Evolutionary, he decided to spare him instead, and then the Guardians helped all the animals escape to nowhere as well. Then as the Guardians then just ended up like leaping over to nowhere here through the portal. Then as Star-Lord then like attempted to jump over. It looked like he couldn't make the jump, and then you just saw like he was like starting to freeze, and you saw like his face like freezing and kind of like expanding some. Yeah, the other Guardians like tried to save him, but they couldn't reach him. Even like as Groot was trying to like reach out with it and extend his branches, it showed like they eventually froze when they passed a certain point. Yeah. Yeah, but then eventually, then it showed then Adam then appearing, and then he ended up like saving Star Lord or Lord due to like a group saving him from earlier. Yeah, and yeah, and then as a Star Lord then showed that he then survived. Like everybody then was just embracing in a group hug. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and then sometime later, like it showed how like they everybody was all celebrating with one another, and Groot just like with Gamora. Gamora was saying how she enjoyed working with him and stuff. Yeah, and yeah, and then like as like Star Lord and Gamora still had like one more like moment together. Then like as the rest of the Guardians then like got together with each other, then like Star Lord then decided that he would leave the Guardians, and then it showed how like the other Guardians all like had like desires for like doing other things as well, such as Mantis like wanting to like go on a journey of self discovery. Yeah, and yeah, and with um uh, Drax and Nebula wanting to raise all the rescued children and on nowhere. Yeah, then Star Lord then decided to name Rocket as the new captain of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, and yeah, then it showed like all of them like giving like the whole like hitting on the chest thing. Yeah, and even like Groot actually like spoke rather than just saying I am Groot. He actually said I love you guys. Yeah, so Groot actually said like an actual statement and not just I am Groot. Yeah. Yeah, and then it showed like all of them like going to do their things. It showed how how Gamora like reunited with all the Ravagers, and then it showed how Mantis is like saying goodbye to Drax, and then like walking off with the Abelisks. Yeah, yeah. Then it showed like a Rocket, Groot, Mantis, not Mantis, Nebula, and Drax all like dancing along to like some music, yeah. And then it also then showed like Star Lord, or rather just Peter Quill, returning to Earth, and it showed like he reunited with his grandfather Jason, yeah, yeah. And then it just ended showing like everybody like on nowhere dancing to music, yeah, and you just like heard man to Rocket like screaming woo or something like that, yeah. And then the movie then cut to credits, yeah. Yeah, but then then like during the mid credits scene, like we had this bit where like it showed like Rocket like with his new formed Guardians team, which consisted of Groot, Kraglin, Cosmo, Adam, and one of the rescued children, Phila, along with Blurp, and it showed like they were on a new mission together, and you like saw like this like flock of some sort of animal like coming at them, and they were running towards them. Yeah. Yeah, and then after the credits, then we had like this bit where like you showed like a Quill talking with his grandfather about like someone, yeah. And then then like it just ended with Star-Lord saying I kind of want to know, yeah. And then you saw the text saying the legendary Star-Lord will return. So yeah. So while this is like the last hurrah for the actual Guardians of the Galaxy, it appears that they're still going to be using Peter Quill, not really Star Lord, but Peter Quill, in like still some capacity in the Marvel films. I don't really know what their plan is to do with him now, but yeah, we'll see what they do with it. Yeah, but yeah, I really don't see them doing like another Guardians of the Galaxy film with this new group that Rockets formed, or them like doing anything else with these characters. Because yeah, like there have been like some that have said like they really are not interested in continuing. Like Batista said that like he's done as Drax now, and yeah, and I don't know like if like what they could really do next. So yeah, so I really don't see them doing like anything further with these characters. I do really see this as the final hurrah for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, but we'll see what Marvel does plan to do with Peter Quill going forward in these films. Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, I really did enjoy this film. Like, yeah, it really did tell a really good story story. It was very well written, and yeah, and just yeah, it really did really give like a final, really good like final hurrah for the Guardians of the Galaxy. So what else can I really say about it? So yeah, really good to great film. And if you haven't seen it before, give it a watch and just see the Guardians of the Galaxy go out on a really high note. Yeah. So yeah, and I guess like another thing that I guess I will mention for why I don't see them doing Marvel doing another anything else with these characters is because yeah, of course like James Gunn now has his hands full over with DC with him like in control of this new DC universe, the James Gunn DC universe. So I really can't see them like continuing to do anything with these characters going forward except for whatever their plans are for Peter Quill next going forward. Yeah. All right. So I guess this is all I can really say about it. So yeah. So like I said, 3.75 stars out of 4. Really good to great film. All right. So I guess this is all I have to say. All right. So this does it for my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review. Yeah. And like I said, with the release of the Marvels in just a couple of days, up next I will be giving my thoughts on the Ms. Marvel series on Disney Plus. So that's going to be coming up next. So stay tuned for that. All right. But I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.